Good afternoon, Creating Change. My name is Victoria Kirby, Elliott York, and I have the honor and privilege of working with these folks on this stage and all around you and with so many of you as the National Campaigns Director at the task force. With Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday observation being earlier this week, I've been meditating on a quote of his, that there is such a thing as being too late. And I've been meditating on it, our place in history, as well as the history of this country. And I think about my own history. My great-great-grandfather, John Camper, was born to a black woman who was born shortly after slavery ended and a white immigrant from Europe on the eastern shore of Maryland. He grew up working alongside his father on ships that came into the port of Cambridge, likely the very same port his mother's ancestors were brought through as slaves. His parents fell in love during the start of the Reconstruction era, a time of progressive change, much like the last 8 years, that due to politics similar in nature to what we're experiencing today, ended with the legal separation of the races and laws outlawing marriages of their kind, and his siblings being murdered by the likes of the Klan. His parents were born more than a century and a half earlier than me, yet we all experienced the pain of not being able to legally marry the person that we loved. So as a student of history, the 68 years following Reconstruction, filled with public accommodation and marriage restrictions, have always frightened and intrigued me. It is a reminder that progress can be challenged and overturned as quickly as it comes, and that the devastation, if not challenged, can last decades. John Camper was born in a time of promise where black people were U.S. senators, congressional representatives, and city councilmen, yet spent most of his life being told what he could and could not do because of the color of his skin and the beliefs of those in power. He even lost his farm due to some extreme racism. The Reconstruction era has become nothing more than a historical footnote. Many folks, until last night in this room, may not have even thought about it. And I can't help but think of my 8-year-old nephew, Messiah, who was born the same year that President Obama won the presidency, and has only known a nation led by someone who looks like him, a nation that affirms his auntie's marriage to a woman, and where his mother has affordable health care. I don't want the next 68 years of his life to be watching that progress be overturned. I don't want to see the election of the first black president of the United States become no more than a historical footnote. We are watching, as Reverend Barber said last night on this very stage, the rise of the third Reconstruction. Conservatives are using the same playbook they used after the Civil War and after the Civil Rights Movement to turn natural allies against each other. This time, they are using LGBTQ people, particularly our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming siblings, to target black and brown communities. They have been doing this through religious imposition and bathroom exclusion laws that are eerily similar to the Jim Crow laws some of you, my grandparents and ancestors, faced. These laws on their face attack LGBTQ people, but when you actually read them and the legal precedent they set, which is really important to understand, they would gut non-discrimination and civil rights laws for everyone, hitting hardest the communities of color. So when we think about King's legacy, we've seen over the last few years the Voting Rights Act gut. And with what we're seeing across the country, a huge effort to gut the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The best example of this came in the form of North Carolina's HB 2. The law was framed in the media as solely about transgender access to bathrooms. However, HB 2 gutted the state employment discrimination court for all current protected classes, took away the ability for counties and cities to pass living wage ordinances and non-discrimination protections. So as a person of faith, watching all of these things happen in the name of the faith that I celebrate, Christianity, I have been honored to work alongside my colleagues and partners in North Carolina, like the Freedom Center for Social Justice. You all met Bishop Tanya Rawls last night. Equality North Carolina, the North Carolina NAACP, and a table of over a dozen other faith-based organizations. We know that the majority of people of faith in this country are affirming of LGBTQ equality, rights, and non-discrimination protections. You might not see that play out in the media, but it's the truth. They are working hard to repeal HB2 by countering harm done in the name of religion. And one thing that I know for sure is that we will and we must learn from our history. If we don't work together across movements, if we don't shore up our base and sound the alarm on the conservatives' plan to use us in this room to gut protections for all, we will look up in 10 years, staring at a country we don't recognize and won't be able to win back for decades to come. There is such a thing as being too late. We have to see immigration reform, gun violence prevention, racial justice, economic justice, disability and mental health justice, reproductive justice, and more as our collective fight. We must resist the overthrow of our progress at every turn. We must continue to change hearts and minds. We must organize to build the infrastructure we need to win leadership at all levels of government, federal, state, and local. And we must not let up until we are in a position to take back our country and sustain and build upon our victories. Let us not rest in being a part of history. We must forge history, and we must do it together.